Welcome back to the EJ Ward FieldView training series. In this video, we're going to be going over pivot grids. To get to pivot grids, we need to drop down the reporting folder, and then we can go ahead and select pivot grids. When this comes up, a pivot grid is really like a grid report, but it's comparing multiple sets of data in one report, instead of just having one set that you can compare with. So here we're going to go ahead and go to our fuel transaction quantities and open this up. As of right now, we only have two. You are able to make your own pivot grids if you want to as well. And we'll show you how to make that in the next video. For this one, we don't have too much that we can put in, so we're going to do a quick date setting, and we're going to go ahead and go back the last 3 months, and we're going to refresh our grid. So up here at the top, we have what it's grouped by, and it's grouped by the site description, the odometer, even though it's not showing the odometer. Below that, we have everything that's being shown. So you have your volume, your cost, your product, and then we have the department. So the department is on the left-hand side, and this is actually a separate little area you can drop in a field that you want to pull that data from. And then up top is what you're going to have up here. So we have the product up here. So each different product type is going to be pulled out to its own column. And then you have the volume and cost, which is going to be the data that's being displayed. So I can see the volume and cost from each department, and I can go through these pages and see all the different departments. And you'll notice at the bottom, it's always going to have the grand total, and the grand total is going to be the same every single page. It's going to be the grand total for the entire report. And then you also have the grand total on the right-hand side for every single department, and you'll be able to see those as we go through all the different pages. And that will be for the department itself, and then the bottom one is for the entire report. So a pivot grid really helps you if you want to compare and contrast multiple sets of data and then see a grand total between all of them. If we wanted to change any of this, let's say we don't utilize cost and we don't want to put the cost in there, we can hit the select columns button, and then we can do just like we do with any other page, and then just drag the cost over and drop it into the pivot grid field list. And now all we have is the actual volume for each one, and we don't need to have the cost. If I wanted to change, and let's say I wanted to have the departments on the other side, I could pull the departments over here and pull the product over into this field on the left-hand side, so I can have basically the opposite of what I was having before, and I have all my departments on the top and then all my products on the left-hand side. So that's a little way how to manipulate the pivot grid itself. If I wanted to save this pivot grid after I have it all set up, I would just go ahead and click on Save. Now I can save over the report that I currently have, and then select my permissions, whether it's going to be public or private. I can save the query if I had a certain query that I wanted to keep, and then I could put any comments in there, or I could save it as a different pivot grid. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and save it as a different pivot grid, and then click on Save. Once that gets saved, it's going to run that report again, but since I already ran it, I don't need to. If we close this out, you can also export, and this exports the same exact types that the grids allows, or any of the other grid pages we have in FieldView. So you can export them that way. We can always go back and query again if we want to change up the settings. We can close this, and then you could save it again if you wanted to mess around with it and save a different format. Now if I go back here and we refresh this page, I can see that I have my fuel transaction quantity training down here, so I could use this report at a later date. I can also set this one to private so only I can see it. If you set it to public, everybody that logs in will be able to see it. So that concludes the video on pivot grids in the FieldView system. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.